Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I've just watched episode 7 of The Bad Batch. Obviously full spoiler review here. So first things first, we are not even halfway through this first season. This first season is going to be 16 episodes. And this episode, we are entirely dealing with the Wrecker having headaches and the inhibitor chips and the ticking time bomb situation, and we're technically not even in the midway points of the season. Next episode will be the actual midway point, and we're entirely dealing with this situation. So I just we'll come back and talk about this, but it's just interesting that we're, you know, something that I thought was going to be like a major plot point going throughout the whole season, at least, if not the entire series, maybe, is kind of already dealt with. But anyways, let's just get into the details of it. So basically, we start off in the middle of a mission for Sid, in which they have to capture some kind of animal that may or may not be food. And then she pays them almost nothing, and then it turns out that they owe her for all kinds of stuff. And you know, it's kind of one of those, I don't know if you would call it like a scheme necessarily. I mean, you know, I guess she is giving them a place to, you know, lay low and not be hunted by bounty hunters every week and stuff like that. So she's not wrong to, like, you know, hey, I gotta charge you something. I'm giving you a place to chill out for, you know, and they're doing work for her. But I don't know. She's kind of being a little scummy about it, but at the same time, you kind of see her point of view. It's like, hey, if I get caught holding fugitives of the Empire, what happens to me? You know what I mean? So I kind of see her point of view, even though she's being a little scummy about it. She's kind of paying them not nearly as much as they probably should be getting paid, but at the same time, apparently Wrecker and Omega have been putting some kind of snack that they go and get on her tab after every single mission, which apparently is kind of, you know, building up their debt that they owe her. So, you know, it's just one of those situations that you often see when, you know, they have to lay low. They got to find somewhere, and this is the best that they got. So they're going to keep on doing missions for Sid. I imagine they won't be doing them for much longer, especially that now that they're making this like a point of like, hey, you know, we're getting paid barely nothing and we're doing all these dangerous missions. So I think that's going to be something that changes not too long after this. I don't think that they're going to like spend the rest of the season just doing various missions for Sid. So that's one thing. But basically what happens is that a mysterious hooded figure enters Sid's bar, and of course it is Captain Rex, and he basically like, hey, what's up guys, how's it going? And they're like, oh, you're supposed to be dead according to Imperial records. So there you go. They think that they probably think everyone aboard that ship died. I'm assuming Ahsoka also, possibly they think that she's also dead. It's unclear. But basically, Rex finds out that they still have their inhibitor chips, and Wrecker's been having these increasing headaches, and you know, he kind of freaks out for a second. He almost draws his gun, and he's like, you guys are taking time bombs. You know, those things are gonna activate at some point, and you know, you're gonna be a danger to everyone, including Omega here. You know, Rex even kind of talks about how, like, hey, I've never seen a clone like Omega before. So there's still that mystery that's going to be drawn out throughout the season / series, probably, about like what Omega's deal is. But anyways, so they're like, all right, well, we're going to go and get these chips removed. So he tells them to meet at Braca. Now, Braca is a planet we've seen before in Jedi Fallen Order. This is where Cal Kestis, his not Star Destroyer, but they're I forget the name of it. Is it Ventilator? Whatever their fucking ships are in the Republic. Basically, Cal Kestis is him and his master were attacked during Order 66, and he took that little escape pod and he crashed down on Braca, and he basically stayed undercover there, joined the Scrappers Guild. That's why he wears that poncho all the time, and that's where you start the game in Jedi Fallen Order. So they're going to this planet, and technically, I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I guess Cal Kestis would have landed on this planet only like at the beginning of this show, so he would have been there for you know, how much time has passed? Maybe a month, I guess, at the beginning of the show. So Cal Kestis has been there for like a little while. He'd still be like a kid. He'd still be, you know, how old was he when Order 66 happened? Like 12, 13 or something. Now look, I did not expect to get like a cameo of Cal Kestis or anything. I wouldn't have like complained if we did get one, but it's, you know, it just, he was technically on the planet in this episode. He would have been there somewhere. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, anyways, they basically have to go to this Jedi Starfighter, and not Jedi Starfighter, this Jedi Star Cruiser. Why can't I remember the names of the Republic's, you know, the precursor to the Star Destroyers? Why can't I remember the names? It's like the Ventilator class, right? Venta something. It starts with a V. I don't know. Anyways, again, I'm not good with planet names and ship names and all that stuff. I'm just not great at that. Anyways, so they have to go there. They have to get to the medical facility because other than Camino, this is really the only place that Rex knows of that would have the equipment needed to get the chips out, which is interesting. That's, you know, I mean, I know that you kind of have to like fiddle around with the tech to get it to like, hey, take the chip out, the chip that is never supposed to be removed. But it's interesting that these ships have that technology and no other ships do. So I don't know. Just kind of weird to think about, but I guess it makes sense. Anyway, so they go there and they're trying to set it all up, and Wrecker's headaches are getting worse, and basically we have this moment where he freaks out and he starts calling everyone traitors for not following Order 66 and all the clones. So basically what we've established here is that any clones who did not follow Order 66 are also traitors that are wanted by the Empire and all that. So it's not just Jedi. So basically if you're a rogue clone, you're equally in danger of a clone that is following orders. So there's that. So we have this whole chase sequence, and Wrecker pretty easily disposes of everyone, which that really makes sense. You know, obviously he'd be like, you know, 3 times stronger probably than your average clone. He's a really big dude. And we have like a real monster moment where he's chasing down Omega and he breaks down the door and she has to hide, and it just felt like a horror movie almost. And I'm not gonna lie, for a moment here I was thinking like, wow, they might actually kill off Wrecker, but it felt like it was too early in the show to do this. You know, like we're only on episode 7 of the series, and I don't know, it feels like if they were gonna kill off one of these characters, it would happen at least at the end of the season when we've like really spent time with these characters. So for, you know, while for a minute I was kind of scared that like they might do it now, it did feel too early, and so of course it does not happen. Wrecker does not die, but there was a moment, there was like a second where I was like, oh man, they might do it. And yeah, I gotta say, like I felt sad for Omega and Wrecker and just everyone involved in that situation, because like, oof, it was just tense. It was a tense situation. But basically they managed to knock him out. They put him in the CAT scan looking bed, and they managed to remove the chip. There was a second also where they have it so that Wrecker is not moving when he comes out, and they're like, oh, and then like, no, he's still alive. So again, I thought that they were gonna maybe kill him in that way, just to show that like, hey, this is why they didn't just start rapidly trying to remove every clone trooper chip they could find. It's because it was dangerous, and I thought they were going to do this thing where like, oh look, one of us died, so we can't just keep doing that because we might end up killing people or something. But no, he's alive and everything's fine. And then they kind of just cut to where everyone has their chips removed, so the whole crew is now chip free. No one is a ticking time bomb anymore. And then we see that Rex is outside and he's talking to some mysterious person over his communication wrist thing, and I'm gonna bet that it was actually Bail Organa. I want to say you could hear the voice very quietly, and I think it might have been like a male voice, so it's either Bail Organa, maybe Saw Gerrera. I think it's more likely that it was Bail, so who knows. But and yeah, basically they all go their separate ways, and you know, Rex is just talking to Hunter, and Hunter's like, look, we don't know what we're doing or what our plan is, are, we got to do what's best for the crew and what's best for Omega. Like, his priorities have kind of shifted to trying to just keep Omega safe. And this is kind of why I'm thinking that they're not going to stick with Sid for the whole season. I don't think that's going to be like a permanent staple in the show. It's more of a temporary, like, hey, we're here for half a season, so that is the interesting thing, is that, like, Rex was like, hey, look, when you get stuff figured out, when you figure out what your plan is, let me know, and you could be a good asset to essentially what will become the rebellion. And that's the interesting thing, is that, like, I guess I had assumed that they would just kind of go with Rex, or start just start doing missions where Rex told them to or something. But it looks like, at least for now, they're gonna go back to Sid's place. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode. Or there's some of the Scrapper Guild see that there are clones on the Jedi Star Cruiser, and they're like, reported to the Empire. So I guess that's what's going to be happening in the next episode, is the Empire will now know at least where the Bad Batch was in the last episode. I can't imagine they'll still be there by the time the Empire arrives. It's possible, I suppose. And of course, the Scrapper Guild is wearing the same poncho that Cal Kestis will one day wear, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole episode. And I gotta say, I don't know, just like I said, I thought that the chips and the whole, like, ticking time bomb situation of, like, oh man, they might, it might activate any moment now. I thought that was gonna be drawn out a little bit more. I felt like they could have gone like another 5-6 episodes with it, like, being this ominous thing that happens in the background of, like, any of us could lose control at any second, and maybe have one or two of them do it at a time, and it's just like this thing that they're, like, desperately trying to find out how to get rid of the chips. But it all seemed to have been kind of wrapped up in a neat little bow by the end of this episode, and, like, everyone's chip is out, everyone's still alive, and everything's fine. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily disappointed that they kind of wrapped it up so neatly. Maybe they're just ready to move on to, like, the next major plot point, but it definitely felt like that was definitely one of the hooks of the show for me, was this kind of tension over, underneath, of, like, man, Wrecker's getting a lot of headaches, something crazy might be happening. But now it's just kind of over. It's just like, okay. I mean, it was cool when it happened. I guess I just thought that it added some stakes to the show that are now kind of removed entirely. So I'm hoping, maybe because they called the Empire, maybe in the next episode Crosshair shows up and we get some more of that, because we haven't seen Crosshair in a little while, and the whole Imperial side of things. So I'm hopefully we get some more of that. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt that it was an interesting choice to kind of wrap this all up so neatly. It didn't really cost anyone anything, and now there's no more, a next episode. I'm not going to be wondering, like, oh man, is someone going to turn evil? Is something bad going to happen any second? Like that tension is kind of gone now. So I don't know. It's just interesting. This was a good episode. And when they were doing the whole, like, oh, Wrecker is starting to snap, that was cool. It's just over now. So I don't know. I guess that's my only thing. And yeah, I don't know what the crew does from this point on. Like, I can't imagine they stick with Sid much longer. It just, not just because they're kind of getting, the raw deal of this whole situation, but also because it's like, what is the driving plot of the show now? Like, what, they're just going from mission to mission, planet to planet. But it's like, okay, but the overarching plot has to move forward in some way, right? So Crosshair has to come back. Maybe this is where they're gonna be like, hey, now that we have our chips out, and now that we know what we have to do to get it done, let's go get Crosshair. Maybe that's, you know, again, like I think that might be their main goal from here on out, is like, let's capture Crosshair. Let's literally like just kidnap him and then put him in one of these things, and there you go, we got our friend back, you know. So that would make sense from here on out, now that they know how it works and what they need to do. So, you know, that maybe that's what they're kind of gonna go for. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I were the producer director of this show, I definitely would have kind of, let's maybe draw this out a little bit longer, you know, keep the tension there in the show of like, oh, you don't know what's gonna happen. But I don't know, they did what they did, and I mean, I'm okay with it. I felt, you know, I don't know if underwhelmed is the right word. It just felt like this is an episode that should have happened a little bit later, when the tension has been drawn out even more, and maybe it happens over the course of a couple episodes instead of all wrapped up neatly in one little episode. I don't know. Anyways, so let me know how you guys feel. Let me know what you think is gonna happen next, you know, now that this this major plot beat has kind of been wrapped up, and it's kind of just over now. The inhibitor chips are no longer a factor for the crew, really. So yeah, anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts, and yeah, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.